At Warp, subtraction is a design skill, not just a product strategy. What does that mean? At Warp, I design to make things easier for people. We don't value showing random stuff, filling screens with data that's not needed. We value our customers getting what they need as quickly and as easily as possible. When it comes to designing front ends, we value showing what needs to be shown and not showing what doesn't need to be shown. Through our agents, through our AI, we're able to mitigate all that stuff and just show you what you need to. One of the hardest things to decide is what you don't want people to see. It's a very difficult skill, but here at Warp, we've almost mastered it. It's a long, arduous process of deciding what, like I said, needs to be shown, not needs to be shown. When it comes to things like payrolls, taxes, it's a lot of like numbers, words, and a lot of litigation that goes into it. So we value trying to make that process as simple as possible. Through our designs, through our infrastructure, we're able to do all this. Recently, we shipped our expenses flows. In other apps and other like places, expenses, adding expenses to the product can be very difficult. There's a lot of steps involved, but through our design, we're able to shrink that long stepped process into 2 steps, just uploading the form, uploading whatever receipts you have, and our agents are able to go through it, analyze it, and put it in a interface that's easy to understand and easy to get your expenses back. So speed by subtraction when it comes to Warp is like, we value speed, and of course the less you have, the quicker you can go. Like F1 cars, weight reduction, it makes them faster. Same with our apps. We got out anything that's not needed. And like other apps that's like in your face with a bunch of stuff that you may not understand, we make things as simple as possible. Taste can be taught. Like I've created like a skill folder for myself with almost like 100 different skills and rules that I like push into Claude. So it's kind of using my taste, and it's teaching the agent what's good and what's not, because the agent can like pull from different sources, but it's not able to understand that, hey, I want this button to be like slightly elevated or something like that, or I want this dashboard to be catered towards a simpler experience rather than a kind of control center experience. So through my taste, I'm able to teach the agent how it's supposed to work. So I think it's a skill that I practice it every day. When I wake up, of course, I unfortunately doom scroll, but I open my different social feeds like Pinterest, r.na, Cosmos, and I just start clicking stuff I like. And that creates a backlog in my mind. It trains my mind over time to see things that I didn't know was cool, and I'm like, hey, I can use this in my workflows, I can use this in my designs. And that builds a backlog. So if Ayush comes to me and says, Raphael, I need a new calendar, I can envision what that's going to look like based on what I've already seen before. And I can use my own taste of what I like and what I don't like to create a new, brand new company calendar, different flows easily. So taste is something that if you're not practicing every day, you're never going to develop it. No one's born with knowing what's good or not. When Da Vinci was born, he didn't know this painting looked nice. He learned from everyone else how to paint, and that's how he got his skills. So that's what you have to be doing. Honestly, I kind of pull taste from everyone and then everything. I think everyone has their own unique thing about them. So even the cashier at a Walmart or something, I can see yo, they have a cool earring. I might ask them where they got it from and learn about them. And of course I pull from celebrities, from designers on Twitter, from designers themselves. I think it's something that I wouldn't say there's one person is leading taste. I'd say it's a cumulative experience whereby I'm pulling from I'm pulling from guys at Twitter, I'm pulling from guys at Anthropic, I'm pulling from guys at OpenAI. Everyone has their own different subsets of skills, and that kind of builds my own taste, which is what taste is as a whole. It's a network of different things you like and don't like, and that's what you bring up. I have a lot of bad stuff I do. When I was starting out early, I used to build games. That was my original background. And looking back on some of the stuff I thought was cool, I was like what the hell was I thinking? But everyone has to go through that journey, really. Like, you're not going to be perfect from the start. Like, even till this day, I might design something yesterday and see today and like think, well, this is horrible. But that's like how we are as humans. We're just going to grow and grow as a person. But if you're not practicing every day, if you're not trying, like, you can't fault someone for trying. Like, that's the one thing that you need to do to build your taste. The human mind is something that's like, it's very complex, but there's patterns. Like, taste as a whole is what people think is good. So if you understand how people think, that's gonna like shift your brain towards what's tasteful and what's not. That's why some people, like, of course, Rick Rubin's the example, but like, that's why people trust what he thinks, because he's been around for so long. He knows what's gonna work and what's not gonna work. People like the top guys at Apple, when they create a new product, they might, when it comes out, you might think, yo, this is horrible. But then 2 or 3 years later, everyone's copying it because they probably saw something that we didn't know we needed, but they just tried it first. So when it comes to philosophy, like, if you're reading different books, if you're researching, if you're just expanding your taste, like, you can't put yourself in a box. Like, of course, I design user interfaces, but I'm not only looking at that. I look at like music, I watch movies, I watch films, I watch TV. There's so much in the world that you can pull from that if you like put yourself in a box, you're just limiting your own ability. So taste is kind of like, or just craft in general, is like really powerful at the moment, because people can just like click, hey, I want a to-do app, and it's just made instantly, but it's gonna lack that feeling that someone created something. So at the moment now, like, if you don't have the ability to create something beautiful, just like, people aren't gonna like really resonate towards it. There's like a big shift now of people wanting stuff that just feels real, like someone put their blood, sweat, and tears into this product. And at AI native company, Warp, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to like sweat the details. So we can easily just say, Claude, just like create this front end first, create this system first, and it'll do it. It'll get the job done, but it's not what people really want. They want something that they're gonna come back to. And if you don't have that level of taste to take something that was AI created and create something beautiful from it, you're gonna get left behind, because so many people's creating stuff right now. It's crazy. Like, you can do absolutely anything, and it's like led to examples of like bad things happening. Like, people have had database leaks, their private information exposed, and at a company that handles such like sensitive topics, sensitive data, we're trying to make it feel, not just feel, but create something that feels like, yeah, the people behind this team, they know what they're doing. We can see that they're working at a speed that's like unprecedented, but they're able to also create something that's like beautiful, feels good to use. They actually want to use it, they're not avoiding it. I like to be in something that's like, it may not seem like you can do much with it, and take it to the next step. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's been made, like the Linears of the world, like they created a beautiful task tracking app. Like, really, we had stuff already, but they took the time to create that, and everyone loves it. So I'm trying to do like the same at Warp. I'm trying to like take this payroll AI native company and create something that people's gonna end up referencing. Like, these guys know what they're doing. These guys have like, they're leading the taste market, they're leading the design market, they're leading the usability market. So yeah, I like the challenge of just like creating something beautiful. When people don't care, honestly, that means you're kind of doing something right. Because when people do care, then you're doing something wrong. Like, for example, when Apple released their iOS glass, a lot of people decided to care about design because it just felt wrong. But all the years previously of the different iterations of the UI, no one talked about, because it just worked perfectly. So that's what I'm actually trying to create. Like, I want people to see something and just have the feeling that it's going to work. Like, people can see, people know the difference between like the AI generated front end. Like, people can recognize that because they've seen so much bad online at the moment. So when someone sees something bad, they're going to remember it. But when someone sees something great and beautiful, it just becomes a part of them almost. So that's the feel I'm trying to create. If it takes me like a day to make the button beautiful, I'll take 2 days. If it means that someone's going to use this and just like feel a good experience. AI can only emulate a human as much as possible, but at the end of the day, a human knows what it wants. When it comes to using it in my workflows, I try and use it to an extent where it can get pretty much the stuff I don't know handle, like boilerplate, some litigation stuff, like the boring stuff practically. But I also use it to brainstorm, which before I could never do without the help of someone else. I almost use it as a buddy, but I take over the work where I need it. So for example, when it comes to deciding new flows, first things first, I'll ask Claude or Codex to just brainstorm with me, throw down some ideas, and from there I'll pull what I think is cool or what I think is good myself, and I'll use that along with my taste, and I'll be able to create something in the speed that I couldn't even think of a couple of years ago, which is the power of AI. So I'd recommend them to start by actually analyzing themselves first, and before you can really use AI to its fullest potential, you kind of need to understand what works and what doesn't, and that's how you'll be able to guardrail your AI, your agents through things like skills, through commands, and be able to push it to a direction you want it to go. So for a beginner, if you want to design something, you shouldn't just go, Cloud, generate me a whole dashboard. It's going to turn out horrible. You should kind of use it as an assistance, like paddles for a boat. There's many components to a boat. I kind of look at AI as the paddles that kind of pushes you along, but you have to manage stuff like the hull, everything else. So recently I launched, based off my user interface.wiki, I was able to create, it was 152 rules and skills, but now it's grown so much that I don't even know the number right now. But yeah, there's, even with all those skills, there's stuff AI still can't replicate, which honestly is it's that intangible feeling that something's missing. You can try and keep prompting, even with all the skills I generate, I still have to leave that behind and take control of the reins and really delve into what I'm trying to create. So for example, I have some rules on animations within the sets, the skills I created. So like I said before, you have the different timing gates, how to use springs, how to do this type of stuff. But honestly, if you're trying to build something and it doesn't lean towards that, it's just going to keep giving you the same results and expecting that that's what you're looking for. But you can't tell. There's no way to teach AI that intangible feeling. That's the one thing that's missing. I don't know if it'll ever be created, but it's kind of the one thing that can't be created at the moment. You're still going to have to take control of the reins where you need it. If you need that button to feel a bit more springier because you're building an app that's more fun, that's more lively, you're going to have to stray away from the rules, because AI is just going to do what you tell it to do. And sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. So yeah, even with all those rules that I made, there's still times, I say 70% of the time where I'm going to have to take over. But because of those rules I have laid out, the other 30% of the time, I don't have to worry about it. If I want to create a new app today, because of all those rules, I can skip so much setup and get into what I actually want to do, which is to creating something new, adding the different types of touches I need everywhere. So consistency, that's one of the big rules that's within it. A lot of the times when I'm creating user interfaces, it's not going to pull from different parts of the app, which is really annoying. So when I use my rules, it's going to scan through your code base and understand the type of patterns you use, the type of styling you use. So it has its own sets, but it's also going to cater towards what you're building. Another thing is using different design principles. That's pretty standard. Understanding how to use box shadows, strokes, corner radiuses, different types of spacing, alignments, those type of stuff. Text, typography, which is very big. Interactivity. There's so much in there that it kind of basically from all the years I've been coding, it kind of takes away all the annoying stuff that I just wish I could one shot, which is kind of weird, but I just wish I could just forget about and actually focus on what's important. Recently, I'm working on a kind of docs for something I'm working on, and I used my own rules. They got to a stage where like it had all the different stuff, like I talked about the interactivity, the animations, but just didn't understand what type of layout I was going for. And I didn't really know how to describe it. I even like pushed pictures to it, but because I guess the rules were trying to like override what I was going for, it didn't really understand what I was going for. So I just had to like, old fashioned way, just like do it myself. So I think right now we're at a stage where a lot of stuff is the same when it comes to like in terms of design for front ends. Like a lot of stuff is like kind of sassy UI, but I'm looking at people that's doing different stuff right now. Like I've seen stuff that guys at Shopify did with their launches, like stepping outside the boundaries of what people think is possible on the web, building different experiences. Like one thing I'm trying to push at the moment is like bringing sounds to the web. As much as people like shy away from it, they don't like it, I think it's an avenue that people could like utilize more. Like there's sounds on their phones, there's sounds when they play games, but when they open a website, it's silent. Like, so why don't we like bring that up? One of the people I worked with, Lockie, he released a web haptics package, which was really popular. And that's just an example of like bringing something that's already like utilized somewhere else, but making it accessible on the web. So I'm looking at people stepping outside the box of the web and yeah, just doing new cool stuff. If I want to post a picture, I might spend like, we've seen the memes where it's like when you post a picture, but you have like to spend like 12 hours just choosing a song. So like people really value like what they're hearing, and that's like going to be, in my opinion, it's like super important when it comes to websites. Like it almost creates the feel, the environment of what you're trying to build. Like if I'm making a game, which is like the perfect example of sounds, like everyone knows like the Mario sounds, the Final Fantasy sounds, they're so iconic. Why aren't we using that recognizability within like our websites? Like McDonald's have the jingle and everyone remembers that. So I know cursor, when a cursor like completes a command, it has that little ping. And if I'm like in another room or something, I just know, oh, my agent's finished working. So there's different examples of what you can use it for. I'm trying to build currently something that's going to allow people to use the tools that's available on the web to pretty much prompt a sound that they want. And it's not going to be like with some like paid something. It's just using what's available currently in the web audio API. And through that, you're able to like create like, say you want to retro fuse your website, you're able to like create retro sounds. So if I click a button, it might have like a 8-bit pixel effects, or if you want something that's like mechanical or just like professional, you're able to do that. So yeah, sounds is something that people just hated, I guess, because like the early days of like the internet when ads would like just start playing. Yeah, but now there's so many guardrails in place that I don't think it's a worry. Like if you're using it correctly, people are gonna remember it. Like what I said prior, like when people know something bad, you're doing something wrong. But if you're using stuff tastefully, people's just gonna like, it's just gonna be a part of the experience. I think it comes from my background in gaming. There's a lot of game theory, and it's based on how people interact with different things, how they like, given an experience, what's the first things they look for, how the brain operates. So there's a lot of science that goes involved into designing beautiful interfaces, and sounds is something that's like been shunned out of that science. Like for example, like if you hear an ambulance coming down the road, you're like, oh, I have to get out the way. If you hear police sirens, you're like, what's going on? Like our brains, they hear before you think. So if I'm like doing something on the web and I see a toast notification, but I don't see it, so I don't see a toast notification, but I hear a sound, my brain is thinking something just happened. Usually in interfaces, as a human, we're looking for those things that like give us like some indication of what's going on, which is why people like add animations to stuff. But I think sounds can amplify that experience more. So, and with the tools we have now, like it's way easier to create sounds. You don't have to go and like drop a pop from a high place and like record that sound. You can like generate that sound on the web easily now. So those type of sciences are pretty crucial. Like I've even written about the different laws we have when it comes to designing your user interfaces. Like one example of the law would be, if I'm remembering correctly, Fitt's law, which is how quickly a person will react to a given interaction. So say you have a button that's loading. If it's something that's taken longer than 400 milliseconds, a person's going to think something's wrong. So when you're creating animations, I try and keep them between lower than 400 milliseconds, or else the user's going to think, oh, something's broken. This is like something that people don't really realize. So they'll make their animations feel like 1 second, like something that's not really practical for like something that should be simple. And that just makes, it might look nice, but it makes the actual usability of the site drop down completely. They might not realize why, but it's just like a human like intuition. Like we just feel something's wrong if it takes too long. So there's many other principles like that, but that's just one example. Always, like whenever I'm trying to build something new, it's something that's always in the back of my mind, because at the end of the day, I'm building something that's like, it handles a lot of money. Like this is people's lives at stake. But on the same note, like I want it to be something easy to use and fun to use. Like I don't want to, whenever I have to file taxes, when I have to file expenses, it's like the worst experience of my life. Like I just dread the day I have to do it. So I don't want people to have that experience when they use our product, but I also want to have that sense of trust whereby when they use Warp, they know that they're going to get paid, they know they're going to get their time off, they know they're going to get whatever they need from the site. And also they can trust us. Like we're using AI, but because of course AI can make mistakes, and we're in a business where mistakes are like, you don't want to make mistakes. We're trying to also create basically that system whereby whenever we're suggesting something to the user, they can believe and have the trust with us that it's going to work. And through our designs, through our making sure of like all our guardrails are in place, making sure we're not just letting stuff go like free, we're building that trust. Like people that use our product, they say like it's way better than all the previous ones they use. They can never go back to anything else. So I think we're doing a good job. It's a pretty tough balance because information is powerful, but too much information just makes people like it's unbearable. So when we're creating flows, when we're creating new updates, we're always thinking of how do we reduce the complexity of this topic, but also make it as simple as possible. So if that requires us completely skipping a step, but us handling it in the background, we're gonna have to make that. And we're also gonna have to make sure it's like completely foolproof, that there's no like mistakes going on. It's pretty difficult, but our team is like, we're one of the best teams. We're able to solve these problems whenever they come up. So we have a track record of creating something so simple that at the end of the day, like we're trying to make something that can be done in one click. Like this is like the design team's goal. Eventually everything should just be like a click. Like you don't even have to think about it, it's just gonna work. But we're at the stage now where we're trying to get there, but it's getting there. And the team and us, we're like pushing towards simplicity. The less we have to show, the better, but we also need to inform the user. I think when trying to build trust with the user, you have to understand like when it comes to money, like people don't play about their money, like so you have to show people what you're doing, but if it's becoming too much, like they're gonna like, it's gonna become something they don't want to do. So it's a balance, but we're handling it good. I guess our competitors, according to our users, I'm not biased. I'm just saying what our customers say. They're pretty much like, you might as well just be a lawyer or something and before you can use those type of apps. Like it's so much information, so many steps, and all you're just trying to do is get paid. Like it shouldn't be difficult. It is difficult, but we're taking the difficulty away from it and we're making it simple for our users. It really comes down to showing but not telling in a way. Like if you're reading a story, you don't want the narrator to tell you like Jon Snow is gonna like go and like fall in love and he's gonna like die or something. That's just like, it's ruining the fun. When it comes to flows, what I try and do, I try and like I try and take the most important stuff and I try and mitigate the less important stuff. So like profile creation this is a basic example, but if you want to create a profile, all you really need is like your first and last name. If I start asking people what's their date of birth, what's their ethnicity, all this stuff, it just becomes like a massive list of things to do. And that relates to like our product when it comes to again your payrolls, again your expenses. We can try to reduce the amount of steps needed, but we also try and inform the user is necessary, so they don't like think we're not like a snake oil salesman. Like we're not trying to be fake. We're trying to tell the user like, hey, we're gonna handle all the boring stuff. You just give us the important stuff. So, for example, a brand new website was like Cursor. They set the standards for like doing the website layout where they showcase the product, and pretty much every other week someone was like releasing their new website, copying the same layout, and you can just see they're just copying. It works. Like people want to see the products, but you can see they're just copying it. And right now it's probably like in a matter of a month, like people are just going to realize like, hey, this is the Cursor layout. Like there's even tweets made about where people are like, left side text, right side products, what website is this? And people just name like 100 different sites. So yeah, I think it's just the nature of people. Like when we see something good, we try to emulate it. I say it's kind of linked to taste because people just, we grow up and we understand, we learn the difference between good and bad through just using stuff. Like if I go to McDonald's and I eat 10 burgers, and if I go to my friend and I cook something that's undercooked, I might not know what's wrong with the burger, but I just know it's not the same. So I guess that's the same application that comes to different stuff on the web. Like people, especially like my generation, we've used technology from like birth. So if we feel something's wrong, we might not have the technical ability to understand per se what's wrong. We're just gonna have like that sensitivity towards, hey, something's off. Like whenever Instagram makes an update to their layouts, people's like, yo, my profile button used to be up here. Why is it down here? Like people just become accustomed to that feeling. I'm pretty sure that's also a law, principle of UI, where if you stray too far from like the status quo, it's going to create an undesirable experience for people. And of course you're able to do that, but there's cases where it's just completely the wrong option. Like for example, if you have like a media player and you have your pause button in the middle, you have your fast forward button on the right side, the go back on the left side. If you switch up that layout for no reason, people are going to say this is horrible to use. They might not realize like, yo, it's because we have all this history inbuilt within our systems of using a certain layout, but they're just going to feel it's wrong. From the examples I've seen online, people are really pushing the boundaries of what even a website is. Like I've seen some insane websites recently where like they're flipping the perspective, they're using 3D in different ways that's never been done before. And it's almost like a new renaissance of like creativity. AI has given us the ability to, of course, create fast, but it's also given us the ability to try things we didn't know before. Like, for example, like my sounds. Like I'm a sound designer, but I was able to break down how I want sounds being made on the web. A couple of years ago, that would probably take me like 6 months of research, 3 months of implementation, but now I'm able to like supersede and forget all that and just focus on what's important. So with the advancements of AI, we're able to try and do new stuff. So maybe I want the website to have a inspect mode where I can like flip the perspective. You can do that now with AI. It's just gonna teach you how to do it. So going back to the pendulum swinging, I think we're moving away from the days of like repetitive, everything looks the same colors, the same borders. I think we're moving towards a more expressive time period where people are going to be more creative and try new things because they want to stand out. In a world where everything's being built, like only the ones that try new stuff is the ones that's going to succeed. You don't want to stray too far. Well, you can, but like if you're trying to build an experience that people's going to come back to and use, you still have to be in the guardrails of like, hey, this is like proper UX, this is proper accessibility. And these examples that I like do use those type of like guardrails where I can still interact with the website from my keyboard. I can still see the difference between a button and an input. I can still see the stuff that's needed, but they're also trying to make another layer of creativity. They just don't want to create the same boring layouts. They're trying something new, and I like when it's done correctly. And yeah, it's a time we're in where, because there's so much going on, there's so much people trying to do new things, like the ones that actually try, I'll like take a look at, and if I like it, and there's like following the guys, they're using the proper patterns, that's where I see like, they really thought about this before doing this. So I think it's like you said, it's like a pendulum. It just swings and swings, and eventually it'll come back to the middle, but there's always going to be those group of people that try stuff the right way. Like whenever, like for example in fashion, like one year it's skinny jeans, the next year it's baggy jeans, the next year it's flare jeans, next year it's so on and so forth. But there's always going to be that one person that's going to try something new, and people are going to love it and they're going to copy it. So yeah, that's pretty much how it's going to be. That's just how the way the world works. I wish it worked differently, but that's just how people are.